We're not trying to raise nice kids. Nice kids say please and thank you while the world burns. We're raising kind kids. The kids who will put out the fires, who will tend to the burned and make sure it doesn't happen again. Welcome to the Kindness Extremists podcast. I'm your host, Shola Richards, aka Brother Teresa. I've spoken to tens of thousands of people all over the world about the importance of kindness. And I am obsessed with how we can bring more kindness into our daily lives and restore balance to a deeply unbalanced world. Every episode, I'll give you 3 practical strategies to create a kinder world, and I'll do it in 30 minutes or less. No fluff, just valuable, actionable content that you can implement in your life immediately after listening to help you actively create a kinder world. There's no time to waste. Let's dive in. What's up, my friend? Welcome back to episode 44 of the Kindness Extremists podcast. I'm your host, Shola Richards, aka Brother Teresa. And today, I'm going to dive into something that keeps me up at night as a proud girl dad. How in the world do we raise kind children in a world that seems actively trying to turn them into little rage monsters? As you can imagine, this episode is personal for me. As mentioned, I'm the father of 2 daughters, and I've had moments where I just want to wrap them in bubble wrap and shield them from the cruelty and unkindness of the world. But that's not realistic, and more importantly, it's actually not helpful. Years ago, I'll never forget when my younger daughter was in middle school, and she came home from school in tears. She tried to include a new student who was sitting alone at lunch, and a group of kids mocked her for being an, air quotes, try-hard and a teacher's pet. My first instinct? I wanted to march down to the school and have some very unkind words with those little bullies and their parents. But then my daughter said something that stopped me cold. Daddy, maybe they're right. Maybe being mean is easier. Everyone else is doing it. Oh, my heart shattered into 1,000 tiny pieces. Here was my baby girl who had been trying to raise with Brother Teresa energy, questioning whether kindness was even worth it anymore. And you know what? I couldn't blame her. Look at what our kids are seeing every single day. They're watching grown adults scream and curse out volunteer referees at their youth sports games. They're seeing people celebrate cruelty on social media and get rewarded with likes and followers. They're witnessing their sports heroes, their favorite YouTubers, powerful politicians, even their own family members choose meanness over kindness because it gets them more attention, more clicks, more power. Here's why this is so terrifying to me. We know from decades of developmental psychology that parents form their understanding of human nature through the observation of the adults around them, particularly during their early formative years. In other words, if we can't figure out how to be a better example of kindness for the younger generation, this cycle is going to continue and likely get so much worse. And that should be scary for anyone listening to these words right now. So today, I'm going to share 3 powerful strategies for raising children who aren't just nice, because remember, we don't do nice on this podcast, but who are genuinely kind, courageous, and equipped to maintain their compassion even when the world is trying to beat it out of them. And listen, even if you don't have kids, stick with me, fam, because whether you're a parent, an aunt, an uncle, a teacher, a coach, or just someone who gives a damn about young people, you have the power to influence the next generation. And trust me, they're watching everything that we do. So let's dive into how we can raise kindness extremists in a world that's trying to convince them to become the opposite. For the first strategy, we need to confront the sobering truth. Your kids do not care about what you say. They only care about what you do. And I mean that literally. Research shows that children learn social behaviors primarily through observation, not through instruction. So if you're preaching kindness while road raging at the driver who cut you off, guess which lesson they're actually learning? Allow me to embarrass myself with a story that will illustrate this point perfectly. So a few years, I was having a particularly bad day. Work was stressful, I was exhausted, and my patience tank was running on fumes. We were at a restaurant with a family, and our server was clearly new. She messed up our order twice, forgot our drinks, and seemed completely overwhelmed. I didn't yell at her or make a scene because I don't do that stuff, but I was obviously annoyed. I was short, I was dismissive, I left a mediocre tip, and complained to my wife about the terrible service on the way home the whole ride. I thought that I handled this like an adult. No yelling, no drama. Good job, right? Wrong. The next week, I overheard my older daughter talking to her sister about a kid in her class who was struggling with a group project. You know what she said? Hey, it's not my job to help her figure it out. If she can't keep up, that's her problem. When I asked her about it, she said, well, that's what you did with the waitress. You didn't help her out when she was struggling. You just got annoyed. Damn. Called out by my own kid. That's when it hit me. Our children are professional investigators, constantly collecting evidence about how the world works based on our behavior. Every interaction that they witness becomes data in developing their worldview computer. Every time we choose cruelty over kindness, impatience over understanding, or indifference over compassion, we're programming their default settings. But thank God, there's a beautiful flip side to this. Every time we choose kindness, especially when it's hard, we're showing them what it looks like to be strong enough to be kind. So here's the first kindness strategy of the episode, the visible resistance practice. Here's what I want you to do. Make your acts of kindness visible and intentional, especially when they go against the grain. But, and this is crucial, please don't make this performative. One thing kids are very good at is smelling BS from a mile away. Here's how this works in practice. So when someone cuts you off in traffic and your kid is in the car, instead of flipping them off, say out loud, you know what? Maybe they're rushing to the hospital, or maybe they're having the worst day of their life. I am not going to add to their stress. And then actually mean it. Take a deep breath and let it go. When you see someone being cruel online, don't just scroll past. Say to your kid, look, see, this person is being really mean. It'd be so easy to join in or ignore it. But I'm going to report this and then send a kind message to the kid being attacked. And then do it and let them watch you do it. When the server messes up your order, use this as a teaching moment. Hey, it looks like they're having a rough day. Let's just be the type of customers who make it better, not worse. Then tip extra and write a kind note on the receipt. The key here, and this part is really important, you need to narrate your thought process. You're not just modeling the behavior, you're showing them the internal work that goes into choosing kindness when it's not the easy choice. But here's the part that may make you uncomfortable. You also need to model what you do when you fail, because you will fail, just like I did in the restaurant. You'll lose your temper, you'll be unkind, you'll choose the easy cruelty or the more difficult kindness. When that happens, own it in front of your kids. For example, you know what? I did exactly what I tell you not to do. I was unkind to that person and I was wrong. Let me show you how we fix it. Then you go apologize, you make amends, and let them see that even kindness extremists mess up sometimes, but we don't let our mistakes become our patterns. For the second strategy, we need to talk about something that nobody prepared me for as a parent. Our kids are going into battle every single day and we're sending them in unarmed. We tell our kids, be kind and stand up to the bullies and include everyone, but we don't give them the actual words to use when the moment comes. It's like sending a soldier to war with the instruction, be brave, with no actual training on how to fight. Your kid is standing there watching someone get bullied and they want to help, but guess what? They freeze. Why? Because they literally don't know what to say. They haven't practiced, they haven't rehearsed. And in that moment of hesitation, the opportunity passes and they become a bystander instead of a much needed upstander. I remember a time when my younger daughter witnessed a group of kids making fun of a boy for bringing a weird, air quotes, lunch from his culture. She told me that she wanted to say something, but she didn't know how to interrupt without making herself a target. She felt terrible about it afterwards. That's when I realized the importance of the approach I'm about to share with you. Instead of just telling our kids to be kind, we need to give them actual scripts, words they can use in unkind situations. So here's the second kindness strategy of the episode, the kindness script library. Sorry, come up with weird names with this stuff. In the service of all the kind kiddos out there, here's some scripts for them to use in common scenarios. Feel free to role play these situations with your kids and practice the exact words to use. It might sound silly, but when kids know what to say in sticky situations, it can make an enormous difference. For example, when someone is being excluded, a script to say to the excluded kid is, hey, come sit with us. We're just talking about the game or last night's TV show or whatever topic. And I'd love to hear what you think. Or when someone's being bullied, a script to say is, that's not cool. Come on, let's go do something else. And then you and the targeted kid leave the scene. This removes the target from the situation without directly confronting the bully, which can be a much safer strategy for younger kids. Or when someone makes a cruel joke, a script to say is, I don't get it. Can you explain why that's funny? This is great because it forces them to expose the cruelty in their humor, which is an incredibly effective tactic to shut down unkindness. By the way, this particular strategy works great with adults who think it's cool to toss around unkind jokes. Or when pressured to be mean, a script to say is, nah, that's not my style, I'm good. Or when witnessing cyberbullying, a script to say is, this is getting weird, I'm out. Then screenshot, report, and privately message the person being targeted with some support and kindness. Or when someone says kindness is stupid or weak, say, hey, I'd rather be kind than popular. At least I can sleep at night. The key is to practice these until they become automatic. And this may sound corny to some of you, but it is a dream of mine that families all over the world will practice kindness drills at dinner where the parents throw out a scenario and the kids have to respond in real time. Hey, someone just called your friend's outfit ugly. Go. A kid is making fun of someone's accent. What do you say? Go. Okay, maybe it's just me, but how cool would that be? Beyond the kindness scripts, though, here's the advanced level. Let's call it failure recovery scripts. Because sometimes your kid's going to choose wrong, just like we do as adults. They're going to join in on the meanness or stay silent when they should have spoken up. And they need scripts for those moments too. So, for example, after joining into something mean, a script to say is, hey, I've been thinking about earlier, what I said or did wasn't cool, and I'm sorry. Or, after being a bystander instead of an upstander, a script to say is, I should have said something when they're being mean to you. I'm so sorry that I didn't. Are you okay? Or, after losing their temper, a script to say is, I let my anger get the best of me. That's on me, not you. How can I make this right? The beautiful thing about scripts is that they remove the cognitive load in high pressure moments. Your kid doesn't have to create words from scratch when their fight or flight system is activated. They just have to remember their lines. And knowing what to say in challenging situations is the most useful tool ever for our kids to skillfully navigate any unkindness that they may encounter. Hey, fellow kindness extremists, it's me, Shola. If you're picking up what I'm putting down, if you're mowing what I'm growing, if you're smelling what I'm stepping in. Okay, I'll stop. If you're enjoying what you're listening to so far, I would love it if you would take a moment to hit the subscribe button and leave a rating and a review. Those incredibly kind acts go so far in helping me to reach as many people as possible who will join the movement to actively create a kinder world. I appreciate you so much, my friend. Okay, let's get back to the episode. For the third strategy, we need to acknowledge a hard truth that every parent needs to hear. You cannot raise a kind child alone. It is literally impossible. The world is too loud, too mean, and too persistent for any one voice, even a parent's voice, to overcome it on its own. For example, if one of my daughters was at a weekend sleepover with girls who spent the entire time gossiping, tearing down other kids who weren't present to defend themselves, and basically marinating in mean girl energy for 48 hours straight, I could lecture her all day long about kindness, but I'd realize pretty quickly that I'm only one voice against many. That's why we need to be more strategic about helping our kids to build their support network. So here is the third and final kindness strategy of the episode, the kindness coalition. Here's what all parents need to remember, and it's a very sobering truth. Your kid's peer group is either going to reinforce your values or demolish them. There is no neutral ground here. So if you care about creating kind kids, you need to be intentional about helping them build a coalition of kindness around them. And to be clear, no, this doesn't mean that you're only letting your kid hang out with perfect children, because perfect children don't exist. It means being strategic about creating multiple touch points with people who share your values about kindness. Here's how you could build your kindness coalition. First, find your fellow travelers. Actively seek out other families who are trying to raise kind kids. This sounds obvious, but most of us just default to convenience. Whoever lives nearby or whoever's kids are participating in the same activities. Instead, pay attention to how other parents respond to meanness. Do they excuse it as kids just being kids, or do they address it? Those who address it are your people. Secondly, create kindness rituals. Some of my friends found their core group by doing kindness projects with their kids. For example, serving at a soup kitchen, or making cards for nursing home residents, or cleaning up a nearby park. The cool part about this is that when kids see other kids their age choosing kindness, suddenly it's not just mom and dad doing this weird thing. It's what their squad does. And third, leverage unexpected allies. Your coalition doesn't have to be just parents. It could be your kid's martial arts instructor after noticing how he emphasized respect and protection over others over aggression. It could be your kid's favorite librarian at school after seeing how she handled a bullying situation in the children's section. It could even be the teenager who works at your local ice cream shop after witnessing her stand up for a kid with disabilities who was being mocked. Each of these people reinforces the message in their own way. The martial arts instructor talks about using strength to protect, not to harm. The librarian recommends books with kind protagonists who aren't portrayed as weak. The ice cream shop kid is proof that teenagers can be kind and still be cool. Now, the digital coalition, we can't ignore the online world, obviously. So instead of just limiting screen time, although that is important, we can actively curate who our kids follow and interact with online. Seek out content creators who model kindness, YouTubers who use their platform for good, TikTokers who spread positivity without the toxic positivity nonsense, gamers who stand up to bullying in online spaces. But here is the crucial part. You have to be willing to prune the coalition when necessary. For example, you may have to distance yourself from a family who you've been close with when their kids start showing increasingly mean-spirited behavior and that their parents excuse as just having fun or kids being kids. Keeping it real, fam, sometimes protecting your kindness means choosing your influences very carefully. The results of building this coalition, your kids now have what I call kindness backup. When the world tells them that kindness is weak, they have multiple voices saying otherwise. When they're tempted to choose cruelty, they know they'll have to face their coalition. When they choose kindness and get mocked for it by some less than enlightened kids, they have a support system that celebrates them. Most importantly, our kids will now know that there's so many of us. We're like a secret society roaming these streets, working tirelessly to restore kindness to a world that desperately needs more of it. That's it right there. That's how we build the next generation of kindness extremists, one coalition at a time. All right, my friend, let's bring this home. We've covered a lot of ground today, and if you're feeling a little overwhelmed by this challenge of raising kind kids in an unkind world, I get it. This is hard work. It's so much easier to just let the world raise our kids while we hope for the best. But hope is not a strategy, and our children deserve better than crossed fingers. Let's recap what we've learned today. First, your kids are watching everything you do, not listening to what you say. Through the visible resistance practice, you make your acts of kindness intentional and visible. Even when they go against the grain, you narrate your internal process of choosing kindness when it's hard. And when you fail, because you will, you own it and show them how to make it right. You're not just teaching kindness, you're showing them what it looks like to be strong enough to be kind in a world that often rewards unkindness. Second, we cannot send our kids into these situations unprepared. The kindness script library gives them actual words to use when confronted with cruelty. Ideally, practice these scripts until they become automatic, which will remove the cognitive load in high-pressure moments. For the advanced version of the strategy, practice failure recovery because our kids need to know how to come back from their mistakes. These aren't just words, they're tools to skillfully navigate the inevitable challenges coming their way. And third, you cannot raise kind children alone. The Kindness Coalition surrounds your child with multiple voices, reinforcing these values. You actively seek out fellow travelers, create kindness rituals, leverage unexpected allies, and carefully curate both physical and digital influences. You're actively building a support network that makes kindness feel less like swimming upstream and more like running with the pack. Now, I want to address something that might be bothering some of you. You might be thinking, Shola, aren't we just creating soft kids who won't be able to handle the real world? No, hell no. We're creating the opposite. We're raising children who are strong enough to maintain their values when everyone else abandons theirs. We're raising kids who can look at cruelty and choose compassion anyway. We're raising young people who understand that kindness in an unkind world isn't weakness. It is the ultimate form of rebellion. Sadly, the world is seemingly okay with creating another generation of kids who hurt others because they've been hurt, who choose cruelty because it's easier, or who mistake meanness for strength. However, every time your child chooses kindness, despite the pressure to be cruel, they're literally changing the trajectory of human society. That's not an exaggeration. Every act of kindness creates ripples. The kid your child includes today might be the one who doesn't give up on humanity tomorrow. The bullying your child interrupts might be the moment that saves someone's life. The kindness your child models might inspire another child to do the same. But here is my homework assignment for you, and this one is non-negotiable. This week, I want you to have an honest conversation with your child about kindness being hard. Don't sugarcoat it. Admit that sometimes being mean would be easier. Acknowledge that they'll be mocked for choosing kindness. Then tell them this: being strong enough to be kind when the world is cruel, that's what makes you a superhero. Not the fake movie kind, but the real kind, the kind that this world desperately needs. And if you don't have kids, your assignment is to be the coalition for someone else's child. Be the coach who values sportsmanship over winning. Be the teacher who celebrates compassion as much as achievement. Be the adult who shows young people that kindness isn't just a childhood value, it's a lifelong commitment. Remember, we're not trying to raise nice kids. Nice kids say please and thank you while the world burns. We're raising kind kids, the kids who will put out the fires, who will tend to the burned and make sure it doesn't happen again. Is there a lot of unkindness in the world? Yeah, sadly there is, but it doesn't have to stay that way. Every kind child we raise is a vote for a different future. Every young person who chooses compassion over cruelty is proof that humanity can do better. Your kids are watching, fam. The only question that remains is, what are you going to show them? This is your host, Shola Richards, aka Brother Teresa, and you now know that kindness can't be weak because you just experienced the strength of the Kindness Extremists podcast. Until next time, my friend, the journey to a kinder world continues. Thank you for listening to the Kindness Extremists podcast. I really hope that you enjoyed this episode, and I have one favor to ask of you. If you could kindly hit the subscribe button, leave a rating and a review, not only would that be incredibly kind, but by doing so, you're actively playing a role in growing this movement and ideally getting us one step closer to creating a kinder world. I hope to see you next week for another episode of the Kindness Extremists podcast. Bye for now.